Healthy Communities, and I'm really excited to be speaking to you guys today about the 2020 PlanH Communities Grants, Healthy Communities Grants. So we're going to wait just 1 second as people continue to get on. So I think a few more people are just hopping on now. Okay, so we're gonna get started. Hi again, guys. My name is Claire Sauvage-Mar. I'm the Grants and Engagement Coordinator here at BC Healthy Communities. This morning we're going to be speaking about the 2020 PlanH Healthy Communities Grants, which are open now. We are halfway through the application period. And this morning we're speaking to you from the BC Healthy Communities offices, which are located on unceded Lekwungen territories. And we'd like to acknowledge that we are guests on the lands of the Esquimalt and Songhees First Nations, whose land continues to this day. I'm of French and Chinese American descent, and I was born on Canarsie and Lenape territory in New York, and I've been living here on Songhees lands for 4 years. And I'm joined today by Connie Barrios, BCHC's Research and Evaluation Specialist.
Hi everyone, happy to be here today. As a settler of Chilean descent, I grew up in Calgary on the traditional lands of the Blackfoot, Tsuut'ina, Nakota, and Métis Nations. After living in Vancouver for several years and doing my schooling there, I'm now happy to call Victoria, the land of the Songhees and Esquimalt Nations, my home.
Thanks, Connie.
Yeah.
We've also got some other staff here in the room. So we've got our Healthy Community Planner, Emily Johnson, who will be answering some questions. So if you have any questions as we're running through the information that we're sharing today, please put them in the comments section below. And we are going to be recording this video, so if you would like to come back and use it for reference, it's going to be available here on Facebook and also on our website. We're also going to be using a hashtag, so if you're following us on Twitter, please use the hashtag PlanHGrants and follow us at BC_HC. Okay, so today we're going to be giving a high-level overview of what the PlanH grants streams are and what to expect as you work on an application. BC Healthy Communities Society is a province-wide not-for-profit, and we facilitate the ongoing development of healthy, thriving, and resilient communities around the province. Our program, PlanH, supports local government engagement, learning, and participation across sectors, and we're working together with health authorities, the Union of BC Municipalities, and the BC Ministry of Health to support the provincial health promotion strategy. Since 2013, PlanH has provided cash grants and in-kind support to communities through 178 projects around the province, and almost $2 million has been distributed to build healthy communities so far. This year is the 6th round of grants. In 2020, we have $150,000 available to local governments through 2 grant streams. The first is a social connectedness stream, which is $5,000 cash grants plus BCHC staff supports. And the second stream is a healthy community engagement stream. And those are $15,000 cash grants, again, with BCHC staff support. And I'll go into detail on those in just a second. If you're looking for examples of past projects that have been funded by PlanH, they're available on our PlanH website. So please visit planH.ca/social connectedness for some examples of that type of project, or you can visit planH.ca/community engagement to learn some more about what kind of projects we have funded in the past. So overall, the purpose of the PlanH grants is to support local government capacity to create healthy communities at an upstream level And Connie, you and I have had discussions about what upstream means, but for people who haven't heard that term before, can you give a little bit of background?
Yeah, sure. So upstream interventions really focus on the improvement of social and economic structures that impact the health of populations. So approximately 60% of what makes us healthy is determined by our social, physical, and economic environments, not genetics. On the other hand, downstream interventions focus on providing access to healthcare services that mitigate the effects of disease. While some downstream interventions may mitigate the impacts of determinants of health, they don't focus on changing the underlying structures that continue to create poor health outcomes in populations. So, for example, a lack of structures that provide access to safe, affordable transportation options in rural communities can make it difficult for the members of those communities to access services and amenities that they need to maintain and support their health and well-being.
Thanks, Connie.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. And so that's what we're looking for in terms of the type of projects and how they're impacting health. And now I'll go into an overview of the streams that are available in 2020. So the social connectedness stream, social connectedness can also be called social cohesion, inclusion, and it's the flip side of isolation and loneliness. And a socially connected community is one that in which community members feel like they belong. And at the community level, research has shown that social connectedness is linked to positive mental health as well as positive increased physical health. So that means lower levels of anxiety and depression and increased longevity overall. On the other hand, communities that have low social cohesion or low social connectedness have been linked to issues such as alcohol abuse, worse overall cardiovascular health, and increased rates of suicide. And all of this information is from a BC CDC report and can also be found in our social connectedness action guide on planH.ca. And so what can municipalities do to address social connectedness? Well, municipalities and local governments are very well positioned to plan for inclusive communities. And that can include considering groups who are marginalized or who may be most affected by decisions. So for example, around development, that's a really interesting space. A concrete thing that municipalities are doing is conducting health impact assessments for new developments. And that planning helps staff consider who might be most impacted by a new development or by the removal of services from a certain area. Another really interesting way that local governments are taking on social connectedness is attached to reconciliation. So a really great example is Dease Lake, which is in the north, not far from the Yukon border. And in 2017, they had a PlanH social connectedness project that was funded by PlanH. And what they did was bring together survivors of residential schools, and they did monthly gatherings over the course of a year in order to bring their elders together. They connected over food, they had regular meetings and created community in order to support their elders' healing. So there's a lot of really interesting work happening. Mm-hmm. If you'd like some more information about social connectedness and health, there is a 2018 webinar from BC Healthy Communities. That's available on YouTube. So if you go on YouTube, you have to search for the BCHC and then you'll be able to find it there. So that's the social connectedness stream. The second stream is the healthy community engagement stream, which will be awarded to 5 communities. The grant award is $15,000 and also is attached to staff support from BC Healthy Communities. And when talking about community engagement, we use the IAP2 definition, and that's the International Association for Public Participation. And at a very basic level, community engagement is bringing together people who are most impacted by a decision into that decision-making process. So what the PlanH grant is doing and encouraging is local governments to engage and empower people who are most impacted by decisions into those processes early and often. So if you're interested in this grant stream and you're preparing an application, definitely consider equity. So who's at the table, who's not at the table, how can we get those less heard from voices to participate in a community engagement process. So what we'll be looking for are projects that will try to reach community members who are not traditionally included in engagement, because those tend to be the people who are most impacted by or unfairly impacted by the social determinants of health. So the bottom line is, like you were saying, Connie, the built-in social environments are structurally arranged to create barriers for individuals and keep them out of the process. So what this stream is encouraging is to bring those people in. And one really good example of a great community engagement process which considered equity was the Kelowna Lived Experience Circle on homelessness. This was part of their Journey Home strategy on housing, which was a multi-year project. And what they did was really put lived experience at the center of that Journey Home process, including this lived experience on homelessness circle. And what they did was convene a group of context experts as opposed to content experts. So they brought together on that circle people who have experienced homelessness, either having been homeless themselves or having had family members, close family members who were homeless, and they were able to come together, sit on various tables around the region on homelessness, and to bring that voice forward. One really interesting thing that I heard from staff in Kelowna recently was that they heard from this circle that taking notes on a piece of paper like this was triggering for some people who might have been institutionalized at one point or had bad associations with people taking notes on them while they were speaking. So in order to mitigate that and make sure that their voices were heard in a safe way, they invited a graphic facilitator to participate, and that took down that barrier of feeling uncomfortable, of having notes taken on them. It also made it more accessible from a literacy point of view. So that was a really interesting way of bringing together context experts in a really safe way and engaging the community in that way. So if you're just arriving, we are taking comments below, so make sure that if you have any questions, you just type them in. Emily is keeping an eye on those questions, so she'll do her best to answer them, and then we'll also have some time at the end to answer questions as well. So into the grant application process, I've given a high-level overview of what the topics are, but the application itself is available on Survey Gizmo. The links to Survey Gizmo are available on the PlanH.ca website, and there's an application for each stream, and they are different. Survey Gizmo is an online survey tool. All of the information is stored in Canada. One of the great things about Survey Gizmo is that you can work on an application and then save it, close it, go do something else, contact your teammates, build on that, and then come back and return to that application. So feel free to take your time building it. I should say that the grant applications are open until April 6th. We've gone this whole time without saying that to folks. So you have until April 6th to fill out an application.
Do you want to run through the timeline?
Yeah, let's do that, if we can find it.
It's right here.
Okay. So important dates: April 6th is the application deadline. Successful applicants will be notified in May of this year. The projects will take place between May 2020 and May 2021, and June 1st, 2021 will be when the delivery of the final report will be due. Did I get all those dates?
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, I think that's it.
All right, so back to the application. So go on to PlanH.ca to find the Survey Gizmo links. Feel free to come back and return to saved applications if you need to take some more time. And if you have any specific questions about your eligibility or about your project, please email us or get in touch with us. Our email address is grants@planh.ca, and you can call us at 250-590-1845, and one of us will be able to answer some questions. If not myself or Connie, then Emily is also available. So in terms of eligibility, local governments must be the primary applicant for this grant. This does include First Nations and Métis communities. If you're a nonprofit or a community organization, please consider partnering with a local government for your project, and the local government will apply on behalf of the team. Again, we're looking for mid to upstream approaches to health, so consider how you can make sure to keep moving that work upstream. We are also looking for collaboration with your health authority and other sectors. Letters of support are not required, but they are recommended. In terms of the timelines, like we said, the activities do have to take place between May 2020 and May 2021. The grant funds are only eligible for upcoming unfinished work. So the work can be building on a project or a program, but it can't be funding something that's already happened in the past. The budget, one budget detail, so only 40% of the budget can be used for capital costs. So this would be equipment, material, or building costs. So for example, if you're interested in applying for the social connectedness stream, that's a $5,000 cash grant. So only $2,000 of that would be able to fund infrastructure costs or capital costs. For example, if you're interested in doing a project that brings youth together, and you hear that maybe they want to do skateboarding, you wouldn't be able to build a skate park with all of the funding. One example is like Tofino did in 2017. They brought together youth in their community and asked them what they would like to do, and they came up with a series of activities. So a choir activity. I think they were doing songwriting as well, a carving activity, and also skateboarding. So they did all of those activities and convened them, but didn't build the infrastructure needed to do that. So if you have any questions on that, please feel free to reach out to us. And what we're looking for, I mentioned this before, is again looking for an equity lens. So equity is really most simply defined as leveling out access to opportunities, to power and resources. So we're going to be considering if projects are making a healthy community accessible to everyone, especially to those who need it most. And we're also looking again for demonstration of meaningful partnerships. So collaboration with health authorities, groups within your community across sectors. We found that in the past, these kinds of partnerships make for more sustainable change over time. And the partnerships do not need to be set up at the time of applying, but do let us know who you see as part of the project team. And again, letters of support are not required, but please include them if you do have them. And if you have a plan to evaluate your project, please do tell us. If you're going to be collecting information or collecting data like handing out surveys, how are you going to record that kind of information? Tell us how that's going to work, and be aware that if you are successful, you will be asked to complete some short reports to evaluate the project, and Connie will give us some more information about that.
Yeah, so I think you captured it pretty accurately there. So as part of the evaluation of PlanH, we will be asking successful grant recipients to complete pre and post evaluation forms. So a short report right at the start of your project, and then once again at the end. So the purpose of completing these forms are really to help us understand how we can best support you, the grant recipient, best achieve your project goals and objectives. The forms will be completed via Survey Gizmo, as Claire mentioned earlier. A lot of the questions will be similar right at the beginning and same at the end, just to help you understand how you are progressing and what kind of changes you are making within your community. If you prefer to answer any of the questions on the forms via phone rather than writing them out, we can also accommodate that, and we can just have a discussion on phone. As part of the supports that are offered with the grant funding, we also provide and encourage you to access some of the evaluation services that we'll have available. So we'd work with you to help you set clear, achievable goals and help you track the right information to help you assess how you're progressing towards achieving those goals. Yeah. Is there anything else?
Not about evaluation.
No.
Is there anything
Okay.
else about evaluation?
Nothing that comes to mind at the moment. But yes, do ask any questions if they do come up, and we'll try and address them during this webinar. Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Yeah, and that's a good reminder. If you have any questions, we're getting to the question and answer portion, so feel free to pop them into the comments section. And that, what Connie was saying about the evaluation services that are available, that leads me to the other services that are available from the BC Healthy Communities team. So the PlanH grants, so a tough one. They're either $5,000 or $15,000 cash awards, depending on the grant stream. But one of the great things about this grant is that we also provide tailored supports through the BC Healthy Communities team for each of those grant communities. So it would depend on the projects that are successful in their applications, but BC Healthy Communities can provide support in planning and implementing a community engagement process, reviewing documents, sitting on committees and advisory groups.
Helping to budget.
That's right, helping to budget. We can make connections if possible or provide resources. So these supports will be dependent on the type of projects that are funded, and it'll meet the unique needs of each group. And it'll be provided on a case-by-case basis. And if you'd like to have more detail on the types of coaching supports that are available, you can visit the application guide. That's again available on the planH.ca website, and it's in section 3.5 that we note some of the services that we can provide in addition to the cash grants. So again, the projects are going to be different, but if successful, grant communities can expect that their contact person here at BC Healthy Communities will be available by phone, by email, by in person, if that's appropriate. So whether the community would need us just as a sounding board or to be more present in terms of being physically there at an engagement or whatever the needs are, we're here to work with you. So just keep in touch.
Yeah, we have a whole team here ready to support you in any way we can.
That's right. All right, so that's it for the high-level overview of what the grant streams are. We did receive some questions ahead of time, so we're going to answer those and then start fielding some more questions as they come in. So if there are any other questions, please make sure to ask them in the comments section below.
Okay, so one of the questions that came in was, can I apply for both grant streams?
So the answer is yes, communities can definitely apply for both grant streams. However, it's unlikely that you would be granted both of those streams.
Okay, so can municipalities submit a joint application? And if so, will they be able to apply for a larger amount?
So municipalities can definitely submit a joint application. In fact, we would love to see some joint applications. However, the amount of funding will remain the same. And similar to that previous question about if you're able to apply to both streams, there is a set amount of funding that we have available for communities. So we're going to be doing our best to distribute it across health authority regions and geographically, making sure that it's equitable. So that's the reason that we're likely not going to be able to fund more than one project per municipality or per local government. But in regards to submitting joint applications, absolutely, you're welcome to, but the funding amount will remain the same.
Okay. So we're already completing a project addressing determinants of health. Can we do a series of mini workshops towards that project?
So this was a question that was asked to us beforehand. It sounds like the person who asked that question already has a project that's ongoing. So we are able to support work that's ongoing, and it doesn't have to be a new project or program, but we can't support activities that have already happened. So in the case of this question, it sounds like those mini workshops are building on an existing strategy to move forward in the implementation phase. And the PlanH grants can be used for any point in the planning process, from initial engagements with the community to preparing and preparing policy and convening people. So it does sound like those might be eligible to depending on what the project is. So if you have any very specific questions about your project and how it might be eligible, please let us know. If you need more help, you can email grants@planH.ca or call 250-590-1845.
All right. So someone asked about reaching out to immigrant communities regarding hepatitis. It sounds like they'd like to engage the community in order to reach elimination targets. Are they eligible?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's an interesting question.
Yeah.
So someone reached out and asked, specifically about hepatitis C, I believe, and it sounds like they were interested in using the PlanH funding to reach immigrant or newcomer communities. So that would be a really good example of engaging a less heard from community. So it sounds like they're applying an equity lens. And they mentioned hepatitis C, which is a pretty specific health outcome. So what I would recommend to this person is considering how they can move that work upstream. So if they're going to be using the funding for example, for Hep C lab tests, that might be too downstream for this funding opportunity. On the other hand, if they can demonstrate a change to a structural issue or a set of barriers that would result in reduced rates of hepatitis C in the immigrant newcomer community, then that would be more upstream. So again, if you have any specific questions, get in touch with our team and we can have a discussion over the phone or by email.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so another question was just posed to us. So asking, are there any themes that may be deemed favorable beyond equity or community engagement?
Well, that's a good question. Yeah. We are definitely looking for multi-sectoral collaboration and demonstrating partnerships. That's a really important part. As I mentioned, you don't necessarily have to know everybody who's going to be in the project, but just start to tell us who you imagine being part of the project team. Another theme that might be deemed favorable would be taking an asset-based approach. So considering what the community needs in terms of taking upstream approach.
Yeah, so what the community has available and what others in the community are also working on that may align with some of the work that you want to do, and how you can draw on each other to collaboratively move your projects forward. We'll be looking at that too. We will I think, be applying an equity lens overall, but there's definitely flexibility in how we will continue to assess these depending on what does come in. All right, any other questions? No? Okay, so I'll just continue from a list of questions we have here. Are small communities likely to get this funding?
So PlanH has a history of providing grants to smaller communities, so we definitely do encourage smaller communities to apply for these grants. And like you were just saying, we will be considering the community size and geographic region when we're reviewing applications. So if you are a small community, please do consider applying for these grants.
Yeah. And especially when you consider the social determinants of health that we were referring to earlier, and how oftentimes for smaller communities it can be more challenging and some of the structures aren't present to have members of those community access the services and amenities that they need to maintain their health. So that will also be incorporated into the decision making. Nonetheless, we will be distributing these funds as equitable as possible. So as Claire mentioned earlier, from various different regions, including both urban and rural. But yes, we do highly encourage smaller rural communities to apply.
And just to build on that, we do also recognize that in many small communities, people wear a lot of different hats. And so if you need any support when you're writing your application, please reach out to us. We're here to help. We're here to answer any questions because we know it takes time and effort to fill out these applications. So we want to make sure that we're here to answer any questions that you have and acknowledge that this is taking some of your valuable time. So if you do have any questions, please reach out to us anytime.
Okay, so we just had another question come in. So if we have several partner organizations and governments already on board, do we need to invite and include our local health authority?
Yes, we would suggest reaching out to the health authority in your region. If you don't know who to contact there, we can make the introductions on your behalf. It sounds like there's already a strong basis of multi-sectoral collaboration, and we will be working closely with the health authorities to roll out these programs and these projects. One thing I would like to share is that while BCHC has a lot to give in terms of coaching supports, the health authority is also available as a resource. So don't be afraid to reach out to them. They've got a lot of great staff who are doing work in a similar zone as us, and we know that they would like to really be involved as much as possible.
And they've been our partners for several years, so they do have the resources available and accessible to our local government partners. So they're an amazing resource, and we encourage you to take advantage of that.
And Emily wanted to add
Sorry,
something.
I just can't contain myself. I just want to add that the health authorities can be really helpful in framing things with that health equity lens and bringing in that health perspective and how the project that you're working on is related to creating a healthy community. So yeah, we definitely encourage you to reach out to them and partner with them on that application process.
Thanks, Emily.
Sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so next question. So does a specific department of local government need to apply?
No, there are a number of different departments that could be working on this, and so there are no restrictions on which department of a local government should apply. So it doesn't need to be the sustainability office or the planning department or health. It can be any part of the local government. The funded projects will probably integrate a few pieces of local government, a few different elements. So it may be transportation, it may be land use, housing, dependent on your project. And this also depends on the capacity and structure of your local government. So applications won't be assessed on which governmental department is applying. Hope that answers that question.
Okay. Where do I find examples of past projects?
So I mentioned these before, and you can always visit PlanH.ca for lots of resources and lots of past examples. For the social connectedness stream, if you're interested in applying for that stream, you can visit planH.ca/social connectedness, one word. And if you're interested in the healthy community engagement stream, it's planH.ca/community engagement, one word. And those are all examples of projects that we've funded in the past, which have to do with either social connectedness or community engagement, and are examples of success stories. Yeah.
Okay. So how can PlanH grants be used to support other poverty reduction grants?
So this question is a little bit about stacking grants. So currently there's always a number of grants that are available to local governments throughout the year. This question was maybe specifically about the poverty reduction grants, but my answer will apply to any grant that's open right now. So if you are applying to grants that are open at the same time as the PlanH grants, that's totally fine. So if you were to receive funding from PlanH as well as the other award, it's just important to know that the other award doesn't displace the PlanH grant monies. It would be up to the project team to manage those multiple grants. So, do consider your capacity to manage both of those grants and all of the reporting requirements that comes along with them. That is just something to be realistic about. But again, one will not cancel out the other. We would encourage you, when you're preparing your application, to have the activities be separate for the separate streams so that you're not duplicating activities with the same amount. If you were to receive PlanH funding but not the other funding, like I was just saying, it's a good idea to make sure that those activities are separate so that you would still be able to move forward with a set of activities funded by PlanH. So perhaps a certain like a phase of a larger project. But if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us and we can discuss some specific budgeting questions.
Yeah. Okay, so another question is, I don't work with local governments, but I'm interested in partnering on a few applications. Am I eligible to be listed as a partner for multiple potential projects?
That's a good question. I think yes, you would be able to, especially if you are representing a health authority. You would be likely listed on more than one, so I don't see any reason why that would be restricted.
Okay, so just a couple more questions here. So who counts as an equity seeking group?
So again, equity seeking groups are those who are traditionally less heard from. They tend to be groups that are unfairly impacted by the social determinants of health. So some examples of equity seeking groups would be women, indigenous communities, LGBT, queer and two-spirit groups, youth and elders, new immigrants, people for whom English is a second language, people who are experiencing mobility issues, people who have been incarcerated, folks who are not typically part of the decision-making process and who are unfairly burdened by poor health outcomes.
Oftentimes also known as more vulnerable populations are seeking equity to be heard and to have a voice in the decision-making processes. And
so both streams, we'd encourage you to consider how you're reaching these folks in your project.
Okay, so who should I connect with at my health authority?
Excellent question. And if you don't already have a connection to the Healthy Communities team at your health authority, please contact us at grants@planh.ca and we can make an email introduction or a more formal introduction to make sure that you're connecting with the right person. In terms of specific people, again, just get in touch with us and we'll be able to speak to your specific health authority.
Okay, I think that covers it for the most part.
Last call for questions.
Last call for questions. Today we've had a chance to go over sort of high level what the two grant streams are that are available to local governments through the PlanH Healthy Communities grants. We're here to help. Please feel free to reach out to us at grants@planh.ca or call us at 250-590-1845. It doesn't look like there are any more questions coming in, but this will be, this has been recorded, hopefully, and will be available on Facebook and on our website. So if you'd like to refer back to this, please feel free, or let someone else know who you think might be a good fit for these grants. And we're really looking forward to seeing those applications. The due date is April 6th. Survey Gizmo is the tool that we're using to receive applications, and if you have any questions, please do reach out to us.
Yes.
All right.
Great.
Thanks,
everyone.
guys. Bye.